Hi everybody, this is Harry, and since I am the person with the most dexterous hands in the house, it has fallen to me to do the video for this month's Comics of the Month. We're going to be trying to do this every last Saturday of the month, where we'll go through what we have from our pull list and just show you what we've been reading and what we're planning on reading for the month. So let's get to this week's grouping. We're going to start with Junji Ito's Liminal Zone, which is a collection of Junji Ito stories, and inside it's the same sort of thing you would normally expect for any Junji Ito collection, with a bunch of macabre art and some really cool stories. Of course, it flips the opposite to Western books because it is a manga. Overall, good quality, nice, like flashy foil on the what do you call it, title, and the interior. So it doesn't have the like illustrated inner jacket like some of the other Junji books do rather. However, it's pretty nice, and I'm looking forward to reading that one. Next up on the list, we got Astro City. That was then. So when Astro City was, I don't want to say canceled, but when they ceased doing it due to one of the creators having some health issues, I was very, very unhappy and not excited when I found out that they were going to be doing like these prestige format books now and again. And so what happened was they finally put one out, and it's a regular format book. It's a little longer than normal, and it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one's going to turn out. On the back, it has a ad for the Metro Book 1, which is going to be the first 2 years of Astro City Collected. If you haven't read Astro City and you like superhero comics, I would suggest you check Astro City out, because it reminds me a little bit of the same sort of genre as The Boys and Watchmen, where it's a realistic take on superheroes. However, it's not gritty, grimy sort of take on it. It's more of a realistic take. So next up we have Gus and Valeria, Swords and Sorcery. So we started reading this one last month. So this is, I have number 2 and number 3. I opted for both of the parody covers. So that's I think this is a Namor parody, and then this is of course Batman and Robin. And so I had read the first issue last month, and it came off very cheesecakey, which was not something I was expecting. I don't know if I'm gonna like this one that much. I may stop collecting the series after these and everything that I have on pre-order come in. We'll find out. If it doesn't improve, then I'll definitely go for that. Go for taking this off, because I do love the Sumerian books from Ablaze, and I love Conan, and Gus and Valeria both were really cool characters in the Conan series, and I'd like to actually see them well represented. In this, it comes off a little cheesecakey and a little put offish, over sexualized, but at the same time it's comics, and comics can be like that. So but we'll see what we think. So next up I have Bloodstained Teeth, number 3. So this is the first of several new vampire based comic books. I've noticed that there have been more and more comic titles. I really like the art inside. It has this very pop art posterized feel to it, and the colors of it are really neat. I don't want to show too much, but I like the style of it. The storytelling's really good. It's well paced. The concept of how the vampires are kind of gatekeepery, and there can only be so many generations of vampires active and that sort of thing, and that the elders frown down upon the creation of new vampires. I really like that concept, and I want to see how this story ends, and if they are going to do another further series afterwards. It follows a vampire that created more vampires, children, as they say in the Vampire the Masquerade series. And he was not supposed to do that. He did it for profit, which is also a definite no-no. And he has been forced to go back and destroy all the vampires that he made, which I think that that's a really intriguing concept for a story, especially since you kind of get into the lives of each of the people that he turned. That's pretty interesting. New for this month is going to be Beware the Eye of Odin. I have number 1 and number 2. Last month, my comic shop did not manage to deliver my comics, so I have a giant pile. And these are interesting. So I myself have a very big interest in Norse mythology, and I'm interested in seeing how it's going to be portrayed in this series. The artwork is very nice. It has a sort of Disney-esque quality, but grittiness to it, which I really appreciate. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one. In the back, we have this nice dark Jotun rather. Yeah, you have a two-headed Ent looking guy there. Yeah, I like this. Nice wrap. I like it when they do the wraparound covers. I just think that those are neat. Because even this one has the same wraparound-ish. But the issue 2 has the nicer wraparound to me. So, Beware the Eye of Odin. Next up we have the Sumerian, Hour of the Dragon. So this has been a good adaptation of the story, of the original Conan story, and I love the artwork inside. The darkness of it, the painterly quality of it. This is by far the best of the Ablaze Sumerian comics. If you're not familiar, the Ablaze comics are adapting various of Robert E. Howard's stories and collecting them in these comics. And they're usually like 4 or 5 issues at the most, and they actually include the original prose story in the back. And right now they have 4 volumes collected of trade paperbacks. They come with all different kinds of covers and things. They'll have covers that are parody covers, and they'll have like the black and white version art and that sort of thing. I always get whatever. I prefer the parody covers. I like them, but if they don't have that, whatever cover's happy for me. So I got Cities of Magic 1 and 2. 2 and 3. Number 1 I've had to order from Scout Comics itself because the comic shop that we go to did not manage to get me number 1. So this I'm not going to be reading this month. I'm going to have to read this next month or later on in the month whenever Scout delivers my number 1. So I'm intrigued by this. The interior art looks very muted, and I'm interested in how this story is going to go, because they in the what do you call it, solicitations for it, they didn't really go a ton into what this was going to be about. I just really liked the designs of the cities and things like that, and just the title Cities of Magic really caught my attention. So here we got one of the favorites of our group between Jacomo, Gus, and myself, being The Closet. This is the 2nd issue. Number 1 was creepy. Number 2 is likely going to be just as creepy. I have been really enjoying this series a ton, even though I've only read the first one. It's been hard for me to get the first one out of my mind. That's how good it's been. So Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter, is a series that I really wasn't sure about picking up, but the comic shop had put aside for me, and I'm finding that I really like this. It follows a horror host, like a creature double feature host that actually has supernatural hunting responsibilities and that sort of thing, and she inherited this title, this job, and it's not something that she wanted to do. And now she's sort of a semi-reluctant monster hunter. And the art in this is really nice. It has a good expressionistic quality to it. And just like when you look at it, the facial expressions are really good. So I'm 100% on this series. There is a trade of the first series, which I'm going to definitely need to pick up. After that, we got Cowboy Bebop. I believe issue 4 is going to be the last issue of this series. It takes place in the TV series world, so the Netflix series world of Cowboy Bebop, so it's not the original comic Cowboy Bebop. It's been really good. It has the feeling of Cowboy Bebop, the cartoon, and it also has the feeling of the Cowboy Bebop TV show. So if you didn't really care for the TV show, you may still like the comic. The colors inside are very nice. They give a lot of mood to each panel, so it's a nice design, and I really enjoy that. They, again, have multiple different covers for these. And they also have Titans putting out a Sherlock series and Assassin's Creed. I would, if I was interested in the Sherlock show, I probably would pick that up, because I do like the art that they have going on the cover. I do like Assassin's Creed, but I don't know that I'd want to read a comic. I'd rather play another game, and I still have to get through Origins. Next up we have Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer. So this is number 2, number 3. I read number 1 last month. I really liked it. It has that Conan the Barbarian feel. And in here it looks like it's going to be more of the same. So it follows Death Dealer, who has an accursed helmet that's got like a demon something or other infesting it, and it pushes him to do nasty things, and it gives him more power. It's a good fantasy story. It's very straightforward and very I don't want to say fluffy, but it's very power fantasy fulfilling. So if you like being a barbarian that has problems, this would be a good series to read. I've always been a fan of Frank Frazetta's art. I think it's really neat. What's really funny is I have one of my friends, Missy, years ago had asked me if I knew Frank Frazetta, the artist, and I was like, no, I don't really, because I didn't think she was talking about the fantasy artist. And lo and behold, she was talking about the fantasy artist. I thought she was talking about somebody that I didn't know about. But yeah, I'm like, yes, I know Frank Frazetta. I know the guy. Not know him, but I know his art. So really enjoy that. So next up we got Grimm, number 3. Nice foil cover. This has been a neat series. I've read number 1. Number 2 came in damaged, so I'm going to have to put off reading number 3 until number 2 comes in. So it follows a woman that is a Grim Reaper, and one of the souls she was harvesting has stolen her scythe. So, and now mortals can see her, and there's going to be some kind of ramifications. It's from the same people that published the Many Deaths of Lila Starr, so it's Boom Studios. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed what Boom Studios has been doing lately with a lot of their non-IP comics, so the stuff that's not Firefly and things like that. While Firefly has been good, I think that I really enjoy their very indie conceptual stuff. Very nice. Next up is a publisher I haven't gotten something from before, Behemoth, and this is The Illusion Witch, number 1, number 2, and this is an urban fantasy story. So this is an urban fantasy story, and I don't know too much about it. The interior art is not the greatest from what I've seen. It's passable, certainly. I bought this based on the cover. The covers look amazing. I was hoping that the interiors would have the same look, but when you're pre-ordering stuff, you kind of have to just go by what you see. And the story sounds interesting. So the actual, some of the interior stuff is really neat, but when you get into actual story art, it doesn't compare to the cover art, which I know for a lot of people it doesn't really matter, but for me, I like there to be consistency between the two, to an extent. So we see this cool three-headed monster and some warrior dudes, and this lady on the back. I have no idea who she is, but I'm sure that I'll find out as I read the story. I'm assuming that she's the eponymous illusion witch. So we got some Conan, King Conan, number 5, number 6. We're coming up very quickly on the end of the King Conan series and the Marvel Conan stuff, which is making me sad because I've really enjoyed what they've done with Conan at Marvel in the past couple of years, and I'm really hoping that there'll be more Conan at Marvel. The art has been consistent across all the series. The stories have been really good. They're very evocative of the original Conan stories, and they really fit the whole Conan universe really very nicely. And I kind of would love to write a Conan story after reading all the Conan series here, and being a fan of Robert E. Howard's books. I would like to actually, I feel like I would actually like to create a Conan. And in the back we get this neat ad for Exterminators, which looks to be Death Traps, Vampires, Blood, Sweat, and Revenge. I have no idea, but it looks like a Lady Wolverine, Jubilee. It looks like Dazzler. I'm not sure who we got here, but she's got glasses like Cyclops. And one of the things that really bugged me about this ad, that got my attention, was this crease down the middle that's part of the printing. The comic itself is not creased, but when I saw this, I thought the comic was creased in 4, and I was like, what happened here? So, but yeah, it seems interesting. I haven't been really keeping track of what's going on in Marvel lately, so I think that there's one Marvel book in here. Next up on the list, we got Little Monsters, which has turned out to be an awesome series from Image. It involves little kids in a post-apocalyptic world. From this cover, you can tell that there's some sort of blood-sucking going on. So there are vampires involved, and they are little kid vampires. The art in here is phenomenal. I love the moody black and white art. It reminds me at times of Guy Davis, but cleaner. So I really, really admire this. This is the kind of art that if I were able to do, I'd be much more satisfied with my artwork. It's this very stark black, this very stark white, very few gray tones, but having so much of that black and knowing exactly where to put in your highlights and everything and how to do this all so it looks so good. I really, really 100% envy the artist that does this, and I would love to practice my art more to be able to get close to that good. I don't want this. I don't want it to change. No one wants change. Back of the comic. No one wants change. Unless, you actually do. In that case, you want change. We're all happy with the status quo as long as we're happy with the status quo. Magic Order 3, number 1. This continues to be something that irks the heck out of me. So Magic Order number 1 through, I think it was 5, was just Magic Order 1 through 5. Then it was Magic Order 2, number 1 through 5. And now this is Magic Order number 3, number 1. So it's like Magic Order 3, 1. I don't like that. It's just confusing and difficult. And yes, it helps keep track of which series it is, but I'd rather it just be one continuing growing number. I know that number 1 sells better than everything else, and that's probably why they're doing this, but I really would prefer this to be Magic Order number 12 or whatever they're up to now, because I can't even keep track of how many issues there were. But anyways, this is from Mark Miller, and was it Gigi Cavanago. Same kind of art you'd expect for Magic Order if you've been following it. Looks nice, feels nice, everything about this. I've enjoyed this series so far, I like the urban fantasy-ness of it. I like how dark and stark it is. The magic is very cruel in this and very cool in this. It's very much like those that wield magic. They're something to be afraid of, and I enjoy that with this sort of thing. And in the back, there's a reason you've never seen a ghost. It's called the Magic Order. So, Magic Order 3 is a brand new story as the wizards go to Asia. Perfect jumping on point for new readers. So yeah, if you're new, this is the one you're gonna want to go for, is number 3. So Magic Order 3, number 1. Either that or just pick up the other 2 trades because it's that good. Series 2 was really good. It involved some magicians that were out of control, that rejected the Magic Order and things like that. So high praise for Magic Order. We got Marvel Voices Legacy, number 1. So all these Marvel Voices series that focus on specific marginalized groups all get the number 1. So this is Legacy, which is the, I believe, African American History Month 1, if I'm not mistaken, given that we get Black Panther and Miles and Dinosaur, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Luke Cage, and I think that's Photon. That's the one character I don't recognize, and of course Storm. But yeah, I've been enjoying these. I read the Asian American Pacific Islanders one, which had the Ms. Marvel story in it, and I really enjoyed that one. And I like short stories for comics, and I like short stories altogether. So I'm really, really into this one, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm just going to reposition the mic a little bit. There you go. Next up, we got Past the Last Mountain, number 4. It involves a war between... Well, a war. There was a war between fantasy creatures and humanity. And the fantasy creatures lost. Humanity's been keeping them on reservations, basically, penned up. And some of them have escaped, and now the government's trying to track them down. That's the main story. And there are additional stories that are going on at the back of the book, of each issue, that show what happened through the war, the beginnings of the war, experiences during the war, how families were torn apart, how lives were torn apart. This has been a phenomenal series. I was really surprised. The art I enjoy, but it's not my favorite. There's the detail of it is lacking at times. The overall quality of it is good, but it just doesn't resonate with me, I think is what I'm trying to say. And then at the back, like I said, we have all these collected short stories which have been really good so far. This one looks like it has just one, which is okay. But I like the ones that have several different points of view. And this is one of the special covers, I think, and I really loved this. I would enjoy a poster or t-shirt of that. Next we have Pentagram of Horror, number 2 of 5, from Black Caravan. I read number 1. It has a very cool color palette. This I love. It's all this red and black and white and this tan color. And it has a lot of gross stuff going on it. And this one looks like it's got some blue in it. This has a lot of horrifying things. It's a horror series. It's not super creepy for me, but it's definitely got a lot of cool visuals. As a person who enjoys things like Tales from the Crypt and Junji Ito, this is right up my alley. When I was first collecting comics as a young person, I want to say I had to have been around 8 or so when Hellstorm had come out, and they had like the parchment cover, and it was like the Necronomicon, it felt like. And when I picked it up, I was like, oh, this is like some dark comic. And it wasn't really that dark. This is what I thought Marvel's Hellstorm was going to be like. And this is definitely has been good. The first issue is the only one I've read so far, and it was unexpectedly good. I really like how they did the $5.99 logo here. Is that they made it with the prominence of the 5, and then of course they also have the not approved by the Comics Authority. So I like these little shouts to like Tales from the Crypt and older comics. I also picked up She Bites from Scout Comics, which is another vampire comic. If you don't know, I enjoy vampires, and this is interesting. So it's a little girl vampire, and the art in it is very cartoony, very appropriate for something to be disturbing. And I just read the solicitation for it in previews. It sounded interesting. They've only solicited issue number 1, so I don't know if there's going to even be a second issue. So Scout Comics, they did a number 1 for Unicorn a few months back. They never did number 2. I don't know if a number 2 exists, and I'm wondering if She Bites is going to be something similar. So I need to do some research on that. But this does look interesting. I like the idea of little kid vampires. It's kind of disturbing and fun. Next up, and we're almost at the bottom of the pile, at Harrow County, Tales from Harrow County 2 and 3. We're back with Emmy in this series, which I love. It's like being back home. I haven't minded the other stories that we've had with the Tales from Harrow County series, but I'm really happy to be following Emmy again. The art is basically the same quality that we've expected to find with Harrow County, with that very painterly quality to it. Emmy has found a new supernatural family, so I'm wondering how that's all going to come out. And I love these covers. So we have the behemoth guy that followed her from the county out into the city. I forget his name. The bull with the 4 eyes. And then here we got this creepy, creepy hand reaching out of the sink. I love it. I love, love, love Tales from Harrow County. I love Harrow County, the world. So next up, and almost at the last, we have H.P. Lovecraft's Arthur German. So this has been a series that's been coming out, and it's coming from Caliber Comics. And they have a whole laundry list of volumes of Lovecraft stories that they have available. And when you turn into the inside, they have the stories in prose, and they also have like some background of adapting it and that sort of thing. And then we get into the actual story itself. The story itself goes first, and it has, to me, this very first edition D&D feel to it. It's very stark black and white, not super, like the detail of it's an interesting quality. This reminds me of the old Conan comics that my brother collected when I was little, and I wanted to color him in. So, it's that nice line art that's just ink art. There's no grays, it's just black and white. And again, it feels like something very first edition D&D-ish to me. And there's a degree of, I want to call amateurism, or something like that just comes across in this production, because the pages are almost see-through. They have a cheap feeling to them, but the stories are good. So they feel like comics. They feel like old comics. And I really like this. Facts concerning the late Arthur German and his family, just right in the wall. That reminds me of some of the like Errol Otis art, specifically for White Plume Mountain, where he integrated the swamp title into the where the swamps were. Last book we got is Ice Cream Man Volume 1. So Ice Cream Man is a series I've been curious about, and I finally have decided to pick up one of the trades. So from the back, Ice Cream Man is a genre-defying comic book series of disparate tales of sorrow, wonder, and redemption. Each installment features its own cast of strange characters dealing with their own special Sundays of suffering. etc. And this kind of thing really tickles my fancy, and I'm looking forward to reading this. The art is nice. The overall production of this is good. There's something about this that reminds me a little bit of Daniel Clo's work, except for silly or lighthearted rather than, misanthropic and doom-laden. So I'm interested in where this is going to go, and I want to know more. And I was going to get this from the library, but when I saw this solicited in previews and they had this Dr. Seuss cover, I was like, I need this. I need to just at least get that and see if I like it. So that's what we have for New Comic Saturday. Sorry. Join us again next month, where I'll go through a likely much smaller pile, and I can talk a little bit more about what we have. All right. So thank you. If you would like to actually hear anything about any of these specific books, please just let me know, and we can actually do a review of them. Either me, Giacomo, or Gus will let you know what we think about any of these books if you ask in the comments. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and be part of our community. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram as well. We are Giacomo and Friends there, and we will see you next time. Thank you, and have a great day.